What you're about to see is from Rebel Base, IGN's weekly Star Wars show. It comes out every Thursday. So there was an image released this week, the story of Star Wars, and it basically shows how everything fits together.
Yeah, so this is taken from a new novel that's coming out.
That's right.
And it's just in there, and it's basically like codifying everything and going,
Exactly,
this
yeah.
is core now.
This is what's canon, everything else isn't. And yeah, according to this, straight after Return of the Jedi, the next thing before The Force Awakens is this novel called Aftermath, which is coming out later this year. And one of the things that says in the sort of synopsis is that it will feature a much-loved character from the Star Wars universe. So the sort of rumors are that it's going to be Boba Fett. But what else is canon now, Daniel?
So let's strip
do it in order.
Let's strip
I think,
it right back. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the first thing we have now in the new timeline is the Phantom Menace.
That's
this
right.
is where it all begins.
Mm-hmm.
Don't really need to say much more about that. I'm sure you've seen it.
Yep.
Then we go on to Attack of the Clones.
Yeah.
Again, nothing in between them as of yet. And then in between Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith is when we get our first kind of other works outside the films. We've got the Clone Wars TV series, which we knew was still canon.
Yeah.
And we've got something called Dark Disciple,
That's
which
right.
is...
That's a novel. It's going to star Jedi Master Quinlan Vos and Dooku apprentice Asajj Ventress. And so the blurb is, the only way to bring down the dark side's most dangerous warrior may be for a Jedi and a Sith to join forces.
Good cop, bad cop.
Yeah.
That's kind of... It's the lethal weapon.
That's right.
No, in all seriousness, it feels like this is kind of... Because Dave Filoni, the guy who kind of heads up now Rebels, but back then Clone Wars, he's been involved. He said Ventress has become one of the most interesting characters. We had all this material, we had all these designs. This is based on scripts we had written with George Lucas. I'm super excited about this book, and that's out on the 7th of July this year.
I'm really excited for that. I think it's going to be really, really good. What comes next then?
Next after that is something called Revenge of the Sith.
Yes.
Which is the third
film.
And then in between the third film and Revenge of the Sith and New Hope, that's where currently there's the greatest number of kind of additional works to refer to. So the first one of those 4 pieces is Lords of the Sith.
Yeah, this takes place between Revenge of the Sith movie and the Tarkin book, which you spoke about on the thing. And the blurb for that is, when the Emperor and his notorious apprentice Darth Vader find themselves stranded in the middle of insurgent action on an inhospitable planet, they must rely on each other, the Force, and their own ruthlessness to prevail. Again, another plot for a Lethal Weapon movie.
Why is this all Lethal Weapon movie?
There's Shane Black on board for most of these.
They all set at Christmas. Sorry, Life Day. They're all set on Life Day. This sounds like a really cool survival movie. It's quite straight. It's like that film Liam Neeson, The Grey.
Yeah.
It's after survival.
I quite like the idea.
That sounds really cool.
You know, the Emperor and Darth Vader sort of just spend a lot of time together, almost like sort of like Bubble episode of a TV show, but in novel form. I think this would be really, really good.
I think that one sounds really fascinating.
Yeah, I mean, they all sound really, really good. This also features the very first outward gay character, Moff Morse, which is like quite a big thing. And that's out later this month on
really
April
soon.
28th.
Yeah, so that's we'll get on that very soon.
Yeah.
And then next up is Tarkin,
Yep.
which we spoke about a few weeks ago. Eric
Yep.
gave us a recommendation of why you should read that,
Sounds
so
really
you can
good.
check
Yeah,
that
I
out
haven't checked that
already.
out yet.
And then the next one is A New Dawn as well.
So that introduces the Rebels characters from the Rebels TV show, and it shows, you know, how they got together and how they started, which leads directly into the next thing in the canon, which is the Rebels TV show.
Yeah.
And that's the last thing then that comes before A New Hope. And straight after New Hope, we've got another novel, Heir to the Jedi.
So a thrilling new adventure set between A New Hope and The Empire Strikes Back, and for the first time ever, written entirely from Luke Skywalker's first-person point of view. It's like it's gonna be like Catcher the Rye.
So this is the colour
Catcher in
here.
the Rye for a new generation.
I really like that idea, and I think it's, as you said, like it's a very, very different thing.
That's really interesting to be like in his headspace between those two movies. So if you think about it, like some of the bad stuff, he's not found out a lot of the kind of big revelations to come.
No.
He's on a high, having just taken down the Death Star.
Yeah.
And he's about to embark on a life as a true Jedi and undergo his training. So that's quite an interesting place to find him in. That's where like a lot of the Marvel comics are kind of filling in as well.
This is what that's what I was about to say. So it's odd that they haven't included the Marvel comics on the official canon thing inside which is inside one of the novels.
Yeah, because they are. But also, part of me, I'm sure they'll find an interesting story to tell between those two films.
Yeah.
But I do think the interesting story is also between Empire and Jedi.
Yeah.
After that ending.
Exactly.
And being in his head and consciousness, trying to process all that information would be fascinating.
That'd be really interesting. But there's nothing at the moment in between Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi.
Nothing yet.
But before that, we've also got Battlefront, which is the first video game. That's pretty cool that that's considered, whatever happens in that game is considered canon as well.
Yeah, so hopefully that means a lot of emphasis is being placed on story rather than just creating cool environments for the shooter.
Yeah, or that they've just created cool environments and they're just like, make a canon if you want, nothing happens in it. So...
Shut your mouth.
Yeah.
So Battlefront, also like the Star Wars trailer, we're going to see a new one at Star Wars Celebration.
Yeah.
We're also going to see some of Battlefront, so I think we'll have more of an idea after that. Well, then we get to Empire Strikes Back, nothing between them, Return of the Jedi, then...
Aftermath. So this, I think, is probably the most exciting one. The novel is the first in a trilogy and is part of the Journey to Star Wars The Force Awakens publishing project. The title will see the beginning of a new government in the wake of the Empire's losses during the Battle of Endor, and it will feature at least one fan-favourite character from the Star Wars film. That's out on September 4th, 2015. At least one fan-favourite. If you say fan-favourite, everyone who's a fan of Star Wars, their favourite is...
Wicket.
Boba Fett.
Wicket.
I think. So there's...
Wicket.
I mean, a bit of feedback earlier said, it's definitely, I know you want Wicket.
Wicket.
It's not going to be him. But like, everyone who said it's going to be Boba Fett.
And that goes back to what you were saying about how everything that was once expanded universe is now relegated to legend status, and therefore Boba Fett is still down the bottom of that Sarlacc pit.
Yeah.
So possibly that's how we get him out of there and back into the Star Wars universe proper, rather than just down in someone's belly.
Yeah. That would be really good.
Also, it sounds like this is kind of what I kind of want going into Force Awakens. I know you said want to say
a lot of stuff,
spoiler free.
Yeah.
But if you just want to learn more about the political milieu in which the Force Awakens finds itself.
That's the thing. I don't think that's spoiler. I think it's enriching. I think
it's going to give you background. If you want to know that stuff, obviously the film's going to stand alone entirely.
Yeah.
But if you want to know a little bit more about the prehistory, I think that might be really cool.
Awesome. Well, that's the new Star Wars canon. Do you like it? Do you not like it? Let us know. rebelbase@ign.com.
Yeah, and until next week, for everything on Star Wars, stay right here on IGN.